What is up, guys? Welcome back. I'm Kevin Crates. This is the channel where we go over to crypto news followed by 5 charts every day. Today we're looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, VeChain, TLM, and AXS. And as always, if you're just here for a specific chart, timestamps are down in the description below. Make sure that subscribe button and turn that bell on to catch notifications for all daily uploads. It's been a green 24 hours in the crypto markets as Bitcoin and Ethereum pushing past crucial resistance levels but losing a bit of that steam now. We'll talk about Bitcoin's price action in more detail when looking at the charts later, but overall the market is looking much more green today than it has over the last week. A couple standout mentions in the top 100. We have Terra Luna up around 11% today. We have Theta up around 15% today. And to no surprise, AXS, we see it every single day, up around 10% today, up around 128% this week. We're going to be diving into AXS's chart at the end of the video. AXS has just been unreal. I still think it's got a ways to go, but overall, guys, the market is looking green today. Looking at the news for the day, we have Ethereum in the headlines about the possibility of the London hard fork being delayed. We had this headline here, Ethereum triple halving may be delayed as security concerns arise. And we also had this article here, is the London hard fork delayed again and how well will Ethereum's price hold up? I read through both of these articles and there really wasn't a lot of clear information as to what is going on. However, I did find this here. The much awaited deployment of the London hard fork, which was scheduled for August 4th, can now be tentatively postponed. According to the ETH2 developers, the team will consider the optimal solution for network security, and any delay in the hard fork will be due to security concerns. Both of these articles were not 100% clear as to what is going on with Ethereum and delaying the London hard fork. However, if this is all true and the London hard fork is delayed, that pretty much writes off any catalyst in Ethereum's price push, as well as our expectations for the possibility of Ethereum carrying the market back up if this pump slows down that's currently happening. So it's just important we all keep this in mind that there is the possibility that the London hard fork is now delayed and Ethereum's prices will most likely, unless this Bitcoin pump keeps going, start trending back down. However, keep in mind, I've only been able to find 2 articles on this at the moment, and for the time being, I'm not 100% clear on what is going on with the hard fork. If it's still on, that's great. Ethereum should keep pumping leading up to August 4th, but if the hard fork is postponed, that is something that will affect price action. And I just want to circle back to this article that we covered about a week ago. Elizabeth Warren gives the SEC July 28th deadline to figure out crypto regulations. And we are now 4 days away from July 28th, and I wanted to bring this back up because this is going to affect price action as that deadline approaches in the next 4 days, where we're all waiting on some kind of answer about crypto regulations as far as the SEC goes. That is going to affect price action. In my opinion, we may see some dumping in price because people are not going to want to hold through the uncertainty of what these regulations might be. So we're not going to dive back into the details of this article. I just wanted to touch on it just to remind you all, July 28th is 4 days away, and we're going to find out what kind of regulations the SEC is going to be laying out for cryptocurrencies. We also had quite a bit of crypto news out of El Salvador today, but not the usual pro-Bitcoin headlines that we have seen. Demonstrators hold Bitcoin protest outside El Salvador Parliament. A group of protesters is taking to the streets outside the National Assembly in El Salvador to voice their disdain for the president's Bitcoin law and act that will make Bitcoin legal tender as of September. We also have this headline here, El Salvadorians take to the streets to protest Bitcoin law. Those who marched against Bitcoin this week claimed the cryptocurrency was too volatile and would allow businesses to launder ill-gotten money. The article went on to say the group's main grievance around the Bitcoin legal framework seemed to be centered around the perceived disparity in the cryptocurrency's usage by government when compared with the average resident in El Salvador. Protesters said Bitcoin only serves some large businessmen, especially those linked to the government, to launder ill-gotten money. The article also quotes, entrepreneurs who put their capital in Bitcoin will not pay taxes on their earnings. In addition, to apply Bitcoin, the government will spend millions of dollars of the taxes paid by the people. And I'm not going to go through every word of these articles, but overall, I just wanted to cover the fact that there seems to be some level of negative pushback towards the Bitcoin laws being passed in El Salvador. And like we've said on this channel many times on the topic of these headlines about countries adopting Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency as legal tender, you got to pump the brakes on getting bullish right away because there are so many obstacles involved in implementing something like that. Not to mention, I would argue most people wouldn't have even guessed there would be protests against something like this. But overall, at the end of the day, yes, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, legal tender, it's a step in the right direction, but that is a long road with many obstacles. And the last headline we're covering today is a pretty huge one. Amazon's payment team hiring digital currency expert to develop cryptocurrency strategy and products. Amazon has posted a job opening for a digital currency and blockchain product lead. The job posting explains that the Amazon Payment Acceptance and Experience team is responsible for how Amazon's customers pay on the Amazon site through Amazon services around the globe, elaborating. The Payments Acceptance and Experience team is seeking an experienced product leader to develop Amazon's digital currency and blockchain strategy and product roadmap. And this is pretty huge news. If Amazon starts accepting cryptocurrencies, that could kind of set the precedent for a lot of other companies. However, my only concern is how many people are actually willing to purchase products with cryptocurrencies, because there are other companies such as Travala that are currently accepting cryptocurrencies. As you can see here behind me, cryptocurrency friendly travel booking, and it accepts Bitcoin, Litecoin, Polkadot, a whole host of different cryptocurrencies, Tether being the only one that kind of makes sense to me, BNB, Cardano. But the question is, how many people are really booking a trip to Australia using their Cardano tokens? Because I passed the question off to you guys, and I genuinely would love to know the answer down in the comments. Would you ever purchase a vacuum off of Amazon using your Ethereum tokens? However, I did look into Travala's report from May of 2020 to see what kind of revenue they were bringing in from cryptocurrencies. And to my surprise, over 60% of the total bookings in May were actually paid with cryptocurrency, 21% of that being Bitcoin, AVA being 16%, CRO Pay, which I believe is their crypto.com credit card, being 14%, BNB making up 2%, and other cryptocurrencies making up 7% of that. I just thought I'd share that with you guys because I thought it was kind of interesting. But overall, this Amazon news is definitely huge, and it could be the starting domino in many other companies accepting cryptocurrencies. However, I have to remain skeptical for the time being when it comes to people purchasing items off Amazon with their cryptocurrencies outside of stablecoins. But overall, this is definitely a step in the right direction, and it's great to see that Amazon could be leading the way, which would set the precedent for every other smaller company to follow. Looking at Bitcoin's daily chart, let's zoom in and turn our notes on from before. Actually, before we turn our notes on here, you can see that price action is pressed right up against the Kumo cloud. And we've been talking about this for a few days now, that this would be the most bullish thing we have seen Bitcoin do. In fact, not only did it push up against the Kumo cloud, it actually pressed inside of the Kumo cloud. It has not done that since the May 19th crash. Now, for those of you who are Ichimoku traders, you do know that for the most part, the general rule is that you respect the cloud and do not take a trade when price action is inside the cloud. However, we are just looking on a daily time frame in terms of what is going on here. If we take a look at just some of the price action, this was a very shocking move. It was very strong, but it looked very confusing, and we talked about that a little bit on Twitter about how price action was not making sense. The other things I do want to point out is that down here, if you take a look, the stochastic RSI is sky high on the daily. Yes, price action's RSI has gotten up into the uptrend zone, which has happened before here last time that we challenged the Kumo cloud on June 15th. But overall, that doesn't mean that prices can't trend back down, and we have to be careful about that. If we jump over to the 4-hour chart, we can kind of see the same story. Stochastic RSI sky high, RSI sky high, and price seems to be kind of pushed down. You see this long wick down as far as a 4-hour candle goes. I would not be too surprised to see prices trend back down. This setup is still kind of bullish. This red line, if it popped out, I'd say it's a little bit more bullish. However, you can see that the baseline has not come out of the Kumo cloud, and this move really didn't make too much sense. It didn't even push that high in terms of, I mean, if it got above 35, things would be a little bit more bullish than they already are. But this was a bullish move, don't get me wrong. But the question is, will it sustain itself and will it keep pumping? And in my opinion, I don't see that happening. And it's not because I'm bearish as far as price action goes. This was just a very unexpected move, and we have to ask ourselves, is there anything actually driving prices up right now? The Amazon news was definitely one that could push price higher up, but again, with the SEC regulations right around the corner, July 28th, that's why we revisited that article when we're looking at the news earlier, that could push prices down. So as far as price targets, I want to see it kind of challenge these moving averages of around 35, and we saw back on the 4-hour chart as well. A push to 35 would have made more sense, even as far as supports and resistance levels go in previous. Let me just turn the Ichimoku off here so it's a little easier for you guys to see. As far as support levels go, seeing it push around 35 would have made a little bit more sense. You can see how hard it got rejected, that huge candle down. That kind of indicates that price action may not be going up that high, but this is definitely something that we can't ignore. Let me turn the Ichimoku back on for a sec. So as far as price targets go, I would want to see it get above this area of 34.5, build support, and then it could possibly make a push for this resistance level of 35.1, which also lines up, if we jump to our 1-day chart here, lines up, if I zoom in, turn the notes back on, lines up exactly with this a moving average around here of 35.1. If it can build support around there and make a push for 38.6, things could get interesting. Let me turn the notes off here. So as far as bullish moves go, this is not a reason to FOMO and just jump into a long position, for the reason being that this is already showing signs of a possible reversal candle. Yes, the move was very interesting, but that doesn't mean that it can't get rejected and come crashing right back down to this price target of around 31.8 is what I would be kind of watching out for. Prices are not really bullish until price gets above here, 44.2, and I'll show you guys on Sand's chart if we turn our notes off. When price action pushes through the Kumo cloud, builds support, then it has a legitimate opportunity to make a bullish move like this. But Bitcoin, Ethereum, the whole market for the most part is still kind of capped out by that Kumo cloud, and it's already showing signs of very strong resistance. It definitely did make a more bullish move than I would have expected, and it could still kind of make a push for this moving average and then possibly even make a push for these higher prices. But for the time being, you got to be cautious, because this could be the top before a drop. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the bottom before a push. So you got to kind of watch out for that for the time being. So as far as price targets go for Ethereum, I would want to, or not Ethereum, sorry, Bitcoin, I would want to see it get above 34.5, build support, and then possibly push for 35.1. If it can get above 35.1, then there's a possibility for a push to 38.6, and from there 44.2. But for the time being, I'd kind of keep my eye on this price target of around 31.7 as a possible pullback in the coming days if there is a rejection here. So price targets for the time being, as far as Bitcoin goes, you want to see it get above 34.5. It can do that. It can make a push for 35.1. But if there is a pullback, if it gets rejected here, I would kind of keep my eye on this price target of around 31.8. Looking at Ethereum's daily chart, let's zoom in here. Before we turn our notes on, you can see this is a slightly more bullish looking scenario than Bitcoin. That is a thick candle. It still has the possibility to kind of push higher. It's also challenging the moving average. Not only that, if we jump over to the 4-hour chart, you see another similar bullish scenario. Baseline is out, conversion line is out, lagging span is out, and this thing looks ready to keep going higher. However, I don't know how true the statements we read earlier in the articles about Ethereum's hard fork being delayed are, but that would affect price action, and that would kind of slow down Ethereum's ability to push against Bitcoin. So as far as price targets go, you also got to take into effect stochastic RSI is high on the 4-hour and the 3-hour, and I'm assuming the daily as well. Yeah, it's high on the daily as well, just like Bitcoin. So it's only a matter of time if there is no hard fork that Ethereum is affected by Bitcoin's price action. So as far as a push goes, you want to see it build support above this 21.85 and then make a push for this high of around 2,400. If it can conquer both of those, it's only a matter of time before it hits 2,500. And where things get very bullish for Ethereum, let's move this over a little bit so it's more in line. You want to see it get above 2,900 to around 3,000, and then that's where Ethereum really is an opportunity to make a push for 35.8 to way up here and potentially higher from there. But as far as price targets go on the lower end, you're going to want to watch a pullback to around 2,000, which is around 2,000 to 1950, which would also kind of be in line with the 200 EMA, where it usually kind of runs into resistance. And below there, I kind of watch for a pullback to around 1950 if Bitcoin takes a big hit. If both of those price targets are hit, it's really only a matter of time before it trends back down to the 1700s. I don't think the 1500s is as possible anymore for Ethereum since it's showing so much bullish pressure. But if the London hard fork is delayed, that could change. So for the time being, my price targets for Ethereum on the lower end would be between 1950 to about 2000. And on the higher end, you want to see it get above 21.85 and possibly make a push for around 2400. Looking at VeChain's daily chart, so our notes on from the last time we talked about it. VeChain is one of those coins that has taken quite the beating when it comes to price action, falling from a high of around 30 cents down to a low of around 5 cents on the May 19th crash and trying to push its way back up now. If we zoom in, turn our notes off here, you can see that it's pressed in between the conversion line and the baseline, showing signs of a possible reversal, just like Bitcoin. If we jump to the 4-hour chart, to also mention here that the stochastic RSI is sky high on the daily, sky high on the 4-hour. When it comes to price action, you can also see the lagging span is still stuck in the Kumo cloud. The baseline is down here and the conversion line is looking like it's ready to possibly push back down. You'd want to see VeChain get above this price target of around close to about 8 cents. But if we go to the daily chart, as far as price targets go on the lower end, if there is a pullback, you want to see somewhere around here, around 6.5 cents should hold for VeChain. If there is an extreme crash when it comes to Bitcoin, I kind of watch for that 5 cents to be a possible bottom for VeChain. VeChain has shown a decent amount of support in that range, even on this last crash, not even going quite as low as 5 cents, but it's trying to hang on. When it comes to higher price targets, on the 4-hour, we looked here as far as the moving average goes, you'd want to see it get to about 8 cents. If we come to the daily chart, that would kind of line up right around here. I mean, a little bit lower around here, somewhere where the Kumo cloud is, but I would keep my eye eye out on those price targets. So price targets for VeChain for the time being, if it can get above 7.9 to about 8 cents, it can make a push for the Kumo cloud. But on the lower end, I would kind of keep my eye out for around 6.5 cents for a pullback. And on an extreme crash, I'd expect 5 cents to hold for VeChain. So price target for the time being, somewhere around 6.5 cents to on the low end to 8 cents on the higher end for VeChain. Looking at TLM Alien World's daily chart, if we zoom in here and turn my notes back on, you can see around 38 cents is going to be the major resistance when it comes for TLM. Things could get very bullish if TLM can get above 38, make a possible support around there and then push up from there. There's also this resistance level of around 33 that it's going to have to conquer before it gets there. If we jump to the 4 hour, it's a little bit easier to see price action. Around 33 cents is going to be the major resistance for the time being, and above there 38 cents. But if TLM can get above 38 cents, things could get pretty interesting. But for the time being, you can see the baseline hasn't quite pushed through the Kumo cloud. The lagging span is out, but the conversion line is also moving a little bit down. So you're going to want to watch this support of around 22 cents to hold. And if we jump over the 1 hour chart, you can see a little bit more clear here too as well. The baseline and conversion line look like they're possibly headed towards each other. So you're going to want to see 25 cents hold as a support level. If 25 cents doesn't hold, I kind of watch for this range of around 24 cents as a possible support level for TLM, as well as this one here around 23 cents. But as far as targets go, if we zoom in again, TLM is in the Kumo cloud on the daily chart. So if it can manage to get above 33 cents, it could make a push for 38 cents. And some of these NFT games are making a push right now. So it is the possibility. I mean, we saw the same thing with Sand. Once it got into the Kumo cloud, it did make a push in price action. But for the time being, I would kind of keep my eye on around the resistance level of 33 cents for TLM. And it's got to hold that support of around 25 cents. If 25 cents doesn't hold, I kind of keep an eye out for this range of around 22 cents for TLM. So as far as price targets go for TLM for the time being, I'd want to keep an eye out for a resistance of 33 cents and the support of around 25 cents. If 25 cents can't hold, I keep my eye on around 22 cents. Looking at AXS's daily chart, before we even turn our notes on, you can see your stochastic RSI still has a bit of room to pump. It is showing signs of a possible reversal as far as price action goes. I wouldn't be too surprised to see it kind of pull down to maybe around $32 in the coming days. But if we jump over to the 4 hour chart, I mean, this still looks good as far as price action goes. It's hanging on to the conversion line and it could continue to make a push from here. Again, price action may come down to this price target here. It's going to turn the notes on as well, around $31 to $32, which we saw on the daily as well. That does line up. But as far as notes go, I mean, look, AXS has pushed through everything that we've talked about. We talked about this price of around $16 being the, I believe that was $16. Let me zoom in here. Yeah, around $16 being a bouncing point for AXS, and it more than bounced. It doubled in price from there and more. It's around $42 now. But as far as price targets go, I start to watch for a pullback because the daily is showing signs of a bit of a reversal. Again, if we turn these notes off, it's a little easier to see that long wick down, this reversal candle. So I'd watch for prices to potentially pull down to around $32. If it wants to go lower from there, 28 might hold, but I'd also keep my eye out on around 26. But as far as price targets go, I mean, don't get me wrong, AXS, I don't think it's done, but a pullback would be healthy. So I start to watch for this pullback of around $32, but you never know. I mean, AXS could keep moving, but price targets for a pullback is really all we can chart as AXS goes for now. So I keep my eye on around $32, and below that, I keep my eye on around $26 for AXS. All right, folks, that's all for today. If there's any charts you want me to look at in the future, leave it down in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and turn that bell on to catch notifications for all daily uploads. If you're not following me on Twitter, KevinCrates_ on Twitter. I'm extremely active on there. Anytime you tweet at me, I will always tweet back at you. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I'm out.